justice. They are devoted to radical love, sanctuary movements, and dismantling systems of oppression. A 2024 Master of Divinity graduate of Meadville Lombard Theological School. Their unique background is in media and religious studies equips them to advocate powerfully for justice and inclusion. It's my pleasure to introduce Phoenix Bell-Shelton Biggs.
Good morning for the next few minutes, beloveds, as it is still morning for 5 minutes. My name is Phoenix. It is such an honor to be at a congregation that one of my dear beloveds, the Reverend Duncan Teague, will not stop talking about. So I know that a congregation that is Duncan's people are my people. In the quiet winter nights, when the world around us seems so small, there's an invitation to wonder, to dream, and to reflect on new possibilities that create a new world. With its long nights and its short days, winter mirrors the interplay of light in the shadows of our lives. This season reminds us of the inevitable change, the cycles of struggle and renewal. Now, Alice Walker, in her book, The Color Purple, writes, "I think us here to wonder myself, to wonder and to ask, and in wondering about the big things and asking about the small things, you learn more than you did almost by accident. But you never really know nothing more about the big things than when you started out with. The more I love, the more I wonder," she writes. I wonder more this time of year, the nights growing darker and colder. I wonder about the things I've known or thought I knew. I wonder about who I am and who I might be becoming. And I wonder who we are and who we might become in time. I wonder about God and Spirit, and I wonder if my wonderings even matter. Then I find myself late at night wondering why I wonder at all. For many around the world, winter is a time of wonder. It's a time of finding light in the shadows and of rediscovering hope, faith, and joy. Now, while winter holidays can bring joy and connection, they can also bring a deep grief and loneliness and overwhelm. Such is the duality of being a human. So if you or someone you know finds themselves caught in wondering this season, whether that's in moments of pain or joy, of love or sadness, remember that together we hold the season's wonder. We hold the weight of it, and no one should wonder alone. And in our wondering, there is ancient wisdom that is rooted in traditions, rooted in deep traditions that were once wonderings as well, and quite honestly, still are. Adrienne Marine Brown, in her book Pleasure Activism, writes, "We must imagine a new world that centers pleasure and connection, for that is the work of healing. It is the work of building our futures." So this holiday season, as we begin to gather in community, we are invited not only to imagine, but to actively build a world where hope, faith, and joy are not fleeting, but are the foundation in which we gather. It is the active presence of hope that we create a space for joy and connection. Will that space creates thriving no matter the circumstances. The holiday season, with its hope, reminds us of what it means to be in community. Brown writes, "It is a discipline, not passive, but embodied, rational, intentional choices to trust in light even in the darkest moments." There is the deep work of resilience in these moments, the work of planting seeds of possibility even in the hardest soils. So just as we dream of new worlds in this season of winter, we are called to be grounded in our hope and in traditions, grounded in community and the collective power of those who have come before us. In this way, we do not simply wait for change. We actively create it through the connection, through the presence, through the pleasure of the ongoing work of reimagining what a world rooted in justice might look like. There is an invitation in this season, in these traditions and stories that we know, to actively practice hope, which brings out the stories, pearls of wisdom that have been passed down through generations. And as we reflect this season, we turn to our first story, the story of Hanukkah, a celebration that highlights the power of faith, perseverance, and light in the face of darkness. So now, this story we know, many of us know well, the story of Hanukkah, where a group of beloveds gather, where they are fighting the empire who is trying to oppress their religion, their community, their customs, and their traditions. They fight back. The Maccabees fight against the empire who has desecrated their temple, who in some instances have put statues of Zeus in their holy spaces. So the fight breaks out. And against all odds, the Maccabees win. They reclaim the temple. They start to bring their traditions and religions and cultures and practices back. And in that regaining the temple, they have to do something. They have to reclaim the space. And central to that reclaiming becomes the lighting of the menorah. But there's a problem. They look all around the temple and they find one pot of oil. One pot of oil that is to keep the menorah lit. They know it will not be enough, but they light the menorah anyway. They pour the oil in and set it ablaze. And then they turn to God. They pray and they wait. And the miraculous thing that happens is that one pot of oil didn't just allow the menorah to burn for one night or 3 nights or 5 nights, but one pot of oil which they knew would last them one day lasted for 8. So every year, people who celebrate Hanukkah gather around the menorah. They light the menorah to remind them of what it means to be in community, to remind them of the miracle, the magic, the fight for justice and freedom, the fight for hope and peace, as they remember what it means to each of them. Now we know that there are many stories of light, of hope in this time of year. The story of Hanukkah in the Jewish tradition being just one of them. Just one instance where people have fought against empire, where people have felt that their rights were stripped away and they needed something to grasp onto, some type of hope to bring them together. And all religions have their own stories like this, like the one that surrounds the Jewish tradition of Hanukkah. All religions have a story that give voice to hope through ritual and practice that ground their people in the belief that even in suffering there is freedom. Even in pain, there is a reason to trust in the future. In pain, there is a reason to trust in the future. This kind of hope is not naive or passive, but it is a hope that demands we recognize the suffering of injustice and the pain of the world around us if we still choose to believe in the possibility of transformation, healing, and justice. If that is our choice, then hope says we have been here before. We made it through it, and we can do it again. So there are countless stories in religion. Similarly to that of Hanukkah, the Christian season of Advent, with its anticipation and its preparation, invite us to hold faith as we await a coming light. Advent teaches that faith is not just about belief, but in the active waiting, awaiting to be filled with purpose and expectation, which calls us to prepare for whatever transformation is coming. In Advent, faith is the practice of waiting and preparing for that unseen, yet sincerely hoped for thing. It is about the quiet trust in something that is unholy unfolding before us, even when we cannot or refuse to see it for ourselves. Advent is structured around 4 main themes: hope, peace, joy, the 3rd Sunday of Advent, which just happens to be today, and love. So hope, peace, joy, and love. The first week being hope. To think about all of the things that we hope for, all of the things that bring hope in. So a candle is lit. And the words of the prophet Isaiah are so often heard in thinking about hope, echoing what peace and justice may look like in the face of oppression as a people hope for something more than their bondage. Peace is the second week, which emphasizes the peace that those people long for. Peace from oppression, peace from injustice, peace to be in a place where they know that they are welcome. The words of John the Baptist are so often heard: to bring peace and righteousness to a people. And the third Sunday, which is today, the Sunday of joy, invites all people to experience joy in the anticipation. Now, in the Christian tradition, that's the anticipation of Jesus's coming, of Jesus's birth. But it can be the anticipation of anything. Anticipation of that new job when we find out we're being laid off. Anticipation in the wondering where my child will go to college. To not know the answer, to find out that it's right here in Atlanta, Georgia, and that they're going to come around again and again for money, for gas money, to raid the fridge. But the anticipation, nonetheless, will to find joy in that. And that is what the third Sunday of Advent is all about. And the fourth Sunday, the one to come, is the Sunday of love. Now, Unitarian Universalist, existentialist, people of all traditions and religions know a thing or two about love. Love is the act that we ground ourselves in. But love cannot happen without hope, peace, and joy first. We have to hope for something. We have to be at peace with that in which we hope for. We have to have the joy to hope and to be at peace with whatever it is that is coming. And we have to ground all of that in love. So it makes sense that love be last and first, but not without hope, peace, and joy. So in all of these ancient traditions, in the stories we root ourselves in the wisdom they have to offer, whether we believe them or not, whether we can believe that one pot of oil kept a menorah burning for 8 nights, whether we can believe that Jesus was born under a starry night, that a manger full of animals was silent. The stories have something to teach us. They have something to offer us about faith, about the collective trust and possibility of creating a better world, of sustaining us through the dark winter nights, of helping us navigate the uncertainty and the chaos of the world around us, of seeing light, of finding hope, of rediscovering faith and connecting with joy again. But faith, we know, is not certainty. It is not the solid ground beneath our feet, but the act of trusting that that ground will hold us with every step we take into the unknown. Faith is a commitment to the unseen threads that connect us, the threads woven in love, resilience, and hope that bind us to one another, to something larger than ourselves. Now, Adrian Brown, again in Pleasure Activism, if you can't tell, it's one of my favorite books. says that trust grows when we feel safe enough to risk being together. Trust grows when we feel safe enough to risk being together. And this captures something essential about faith. It is not a solitary endeavor, but one that is nurtured by and with and because of community. True faith is the courage to move forward, not alone, but together in the safety and strength of a shared humanity. I was reminded of this truth during a particularly formative and challenging moment in ministry just recently at Emory Hospital, where I serve as a chaplain, when I encountered a family who was facing the uncertainty of their loved one's recovery. Each member of the family expressed their hope and their fear differently. One prayed in the corner, one sat in total silence, and still another could not bring themselves to enter the room, while another had all the questions and wanted me to fix everything. For each of those people, in that moment, faith was not about things being okay, but it was about creating a space where everyone had enough, where everyone knew that the other was crying, where everyone knew that something was taking place, where everyone was at risk of being vulnerable. Faith showed up in the small acts. A hand extended, a tissue passed, a story shared. It was the trust that they built with each other and with me as their chaplain that we were able to move forward one step at a time. And our holiday traditions invite us to slow down, to be present and to move forward one step at a time, because we know the path is unclear. We know that there will be trouble along the way. We don't know what we're walking, moving, treading into. But what we know is we're not doing it alone. For in the darkness, in the struggle, there is an act of revolution, of liberation.
All right.
Joy in the darkness invites us to think deeply about what is and has been important to us. In the winter darkness, the winter solstice celebration, where the nights grow seemingly long and endless, there is a profound moment when the light begins to return. The pagan tradition of honoring this time of renewal creates a powerful metaphor for how joy can enter our lives, often unexpectedly, and when we stop looking for it. It emerges from the deepest shadows. It reminds us that there is so much light in the world, that joy is that revolutionary act that insists on the vitality of life, refusing to be overshadowed by sorrow or despair, that often shows up in moments of connection, whether in nature or in community that affirms us, in the creative expressions that we have and share, in the moments that are sacred, in the moments where survival and flourishing demand joy. That is where it shows up. Now, I have come to understand that joy is not an individual pleasure, but it is about creating space where others can see themselves liberated through and because of joy. This understanding has become the core of my ministry, knowing that all people need the transformative power of joy, especially when joy is the last thing on their mind, because they don't feel safe enough, held enough, loved or worthy enough to survive, let alone thrive as an act of joyful liberation. So joy is often seen as a fleeting emotion, a momentary feeling that comes and goes. But in the context of liberation, joy takes a far deeper, more transformative role. Adrienne Marine Brown discusses how joy is the radical form of resistance that declares that we all are alive and worthy of experiencing deep pleasure, connection, and love, which cultivate joy even amidst the suffering and the oppression. This concept of joy reframed as a tool of healing, a way to fight against the forces that seem so dark and strong, is not new. We heard about the story of joy found in Hanukkah. We know about the story of joy found in solstice traditions and in Christian stories of Christmas. It's not new to think about joy in a revolutionary act. It's new that we are remembering what joy means, and that we can cultivate our joy. That we can have joy in times of struggle, in weeks to come when the administration of this country turns in ways we don't perhaps understand. We can have joy in our connections, joy in our fights for justice, joy in Black Lives Matter protest, joy in legislating for trans rights, joy in ensuring, no matter the risk, that we are holding each other along the way. So in these challenging times, our joy becomes the revolutionary act. It doesn't distract us from the pain, but helps us transcribe it. Joy anchors us in the understanding that we are more than the weight of our trauma. We are more than the weight of the systems and structures of oppression in this nation. We are more than the hurt we experience. Brown writes, I touch my skin, and it tells me that before there was harm, there was miracle. Our bodies, no matter what they have endured, carry the imprint of miracles. Those moments of life that are beautiful, those moments of life that are filled with pain, the perseverance transcends the harm. Joy in this sense is the return to the truth of our very existence as that miracle, worthy of experiencing life to its fullest and deepest potential as a survivor of living. So, what would it take to live into a world in this way? What would it take to become the bearers of faith, hope, and joy, not for ourselves, but as gifts for the world? In my own ministry, I've witnessed the transformative power that occurs when we take what we receive, whether hard-earned lessons or moments of grace, to offer it as a gift to those around us. I think back to times when I was serving a faith community through a difficult transition. I think of times where in the hospital I've had to be present, had the privilege of being present. And I think back to those moments in my life when joy didn't exist, when the nights grew dark and cold and long, and I didn't know if the next morning would bring anything different. Joy still showed up. Joy showed up because of community, because of the light of another. The light of hope wasn't just mine, as it became the collective force shared in offering what somebody else had. Amidst the struggle, amidst the pain, what I learned was together we aren't just surviving, but we are creating a space for our thriving and our collective transformation. So, beloveds, embrace the shadows of your life. Live life on the fertile ground for growth. Trust that the light you carry can illuminate not just your own path, but someone else's path. The beloved's path who you know, and the person who sees you from their own shadows. Your light can transform so much more. So why are you hiding it? Why are you? Why am I sometimes acting like what I have is mine, instead of offering it to everyone? So, beloveds, embrace your own shadows. Embrace the joy of somebody else. Hang in there. It's not going to be an easy 4 years. It's just 4 more years. But we need one another. And remember, we as a people have been here before. We have found our joy before. We have co-created sanctuaries of love and liberation before. We have taken up physical space before. We have created transformation before. We have broken free from bondage before. And we did it together. And so together we can do it again. We can co-create sanctuaries of love and liberation for a people by embracing our joy, by embracing our acts of resistance and resilience. We can create a sanctuary that isn't just a physical space, but a shared experience in journeying together through love, in carrying one another's lights, in sharing our own light in the shadows. We can become the light bearers who bring each other out of bondage, who bring each other out of isolation, who bring each other together in love. So, this time of year, I find myself wondering more and more. And I wonder, what do you wonder? If you wonder at all, do you wonder about who you are? Do you wonder about who you might become? Do you wonder what your life's path is on? Do you wonder who we are together? How we nurture, inspire, create, and transform? Do you wonder if you wander alone? Because you don't. So may our eyes be open. May we be together as we grow. May we go forward carrying the light of hope, the strength of faith, and the boldness and boundless joy that we have, knowing that this world is full of pain and uncertainty and chaos, knowing that we are not alone, knowing that in each step we take, we fulfill a mission of radical love, knowing that we hold each other's light, knowing that somebody holds our light when we can't hold it for ourselves, knowing that we share in one another's pain, knowing that we are there when somebody needs us the most, and that they are there when they need us the most. Together, and only together, can we illuminate the darkest concerns that bind us together in this shared work. So, beloveds, whether this time of year is filled with joy and hope, sadness or pain for you, know that you are held by everyone around. Know that you are worthy, that you are loved, and that you belong right here, right now. Know that your joy is enough, that your light is enough, that whatever you are doing for justice is enough. And that in those days when you can't get out of bed because you are so tired, that it is enough. So, beloved, may each and every one of you be enough. Ashe, ashe, ashe.
Our very existence is a miracle. All right, First D chorus. Our last song is We Let the Love Wash Over Us. Please stand.
I want you all to stand up as you're willing and able and form kind of like a little horseshoe thing. And move your chairs because we're going to be using anyway. So that we're singing to each other.
We got to work first.
We're going to sing it. And then it's I want to get a harmony. Right. Okay, this song you all know, it has choreography. And it goes like this. We let the love wash over us. We let it be. We let the love, or whatever it is, wash over us. We let it be. Great.
We let the love wash over us. We let it be. We let the love wash over us. We let it be. The hope. We let the hope wash over us. We let it be. The light. We let it be. The peace. We let the peace wash over us. We let it be. Joy. We let the joy wash over us. We let it be. The love. We let the love wash over us. We let it be. One more time, the love. We let the love wash over us. We let it be.
Once again, thank you, Jean Hyrick and the First D Chorus.
That was beautiful.
This is no time for ease and comfort. It is a time to dare and endure. Winston Churchill. Please join us to eat immediately following, and have a wonderful week.
You too. Thank you.
So, how'd you get a laptop with all the butterflies and stuff? Oh, it's just a cling wrap. That's cool.
I discovered this group, you may know them, the Wilderness Yet. And they're the ones, they're out of Scotland or Ireland or someplace. But they were the ones, they were saying, that had those words. I love those words. Well, see, that's what this is from. It's from way back then. And then the Christianity that just appropriated. They put Jesus in. Yes. And I love these words so much. I mean, gosh. As white as lays the snow, and deep beneath the spring. That's right. That's right. Yes. And so, I love this. Burn ye fear and blame with fire flame. God. Yeah, that works for me. Hey, I want to give you something. It's not much, but this time of year, so thank you so much. Yes, you will.
I always thought there's always a blessing in the hardship, you know what I mean?
I know, because you have to do MDiv to get through it. It makes you open up to stuff. Yes. Yes. Okay.
I